Like everyone gets in touch with a personal trainer because they think like fat loss. I need someone to shout at me and tell me what to restrict so that I can reach my goals and be happy.
Welcome to the Binge Dietitian podcast. I'm Jonathan and I'm here to help you end 24/7 food thoughts, binge eating, and actually enjoy life with food. This episode is for educational and informational purposes only, not to be substituted for medical or personalized advice. Check the link in the description for my recovery resources, and let's get straight to the episode. And in this special episode, I want to introduce Michael. Why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So my name is Michael Ujoa. I am an online personal trainer and performance nutritionist. I run an online personal training business. I work with people all around the world with pretty much every fitness goal you can imagine. I spend far too much of my time on social media creating stupid videos to try and educate people and make fitness a little bit more welcoming, because most of the time it's not. It can be quite intimidating for folks. So I kind of split my time. Half my time is coaching people, working towards whatever goals they have, and the other half is me trying to push out as much content as I can to try and educate people and show them that fitness doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It can be this really simple thing that fits around your lifestyle rather than kind of completely consuming your life, you know? And that's kind of my general ethos with all the stuff that I do. And it's a very short snapshot. I used to be an occupational therapist kind of previously before personal training. And I find that that's probably influenced a lot of my practice in taking quite a holistic approach with the clients that I work with, kind of taking every aspect of their life into consideration when I'm trying to write up exercise or nutrition plans. And I feel like the messaging I put out is maybe slightly different from the norm of other personal trainers out there. But yeah, I genuinely feel like I'm making a difference now that I've refined my approach to the way that it is. And yeah, that's a very short snapshot of what I do. I hope that was okay.
Yeah, that was lots of information. I had no idea you were an occupational therapist before.
Yeah, I did. I did that for about 3 to 4 years. I just never saw myself doing it long term. And I've always been one of those, it sounds a bit cheesy, isn't it? But I always wanted to do something that I loved and was passionate about. So personal training was actually supposed to be a bit of a stopgap whilst I figured out, like, what do I want to do with my life when I grow up? And 8, 9 years later, I'm still here. And I feel like I've got the best job in the world now. It's great.
That's amazing. And what was the transition from an occupational therapist to be a personal trainer? Like, did you have any PT experience, or you just wanted to learn after OT?
Yeah, I've always been really into sport. I did kickboxing for about 7 years. I played football a lot. I'd always kind of dabbled in gym work as well. So I always knew that I'd probably want to do something along those lines. And yeah, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, lived in Edinburgh in Scotland, and I lived on the south coast of England. So I thought, right, I'm going to go move to Edinburgh for a year, do something that sounds fun. Personal training sounds fun, and just see what happens. And yeah, we're still living in Edinburgh, love this city. And this is me now, just running an online business from here. And it's great.
That's amazing. And how did you feel? Was it like a groundbreaking moment? Working, well, let's say, quote unquote, 9 to 5 OT to becoming a full-time personal trainer. What is that like?
It was, if I'm honest, like really rough. Like I didn't enjoy it at first. Like when you first start off personal training, it's pretty grim, to be honest. It's super competitive. You have to the first job you get will be very, very badly paid. You just kind of have to accept that in the personal training world. So you spend most of your time cleaning equipment and writing up generic gym programs for new members, you know? It was tough for the first few years, finding my feet, gaining experience, then starting a business up as well. So yeah, I went from this kind of safe occupational therapy job that was pretty well paid to working many, many more hours for less than minimum wage. But I don't know, there's just something about it that I loved. And I knew that there's something in this and I can see myself doing it long term.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Wow. And did you start your PT page whilst you were being an OT?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
This is all since personal training. So I've been plugging away on social media now for probably like 6 years. I've been consistently creating content. I I didn't really know what I was doing with social media. I just found it really fun. Hence why my videos are so stupid. I think they did quite well because I wasn't taking it seriously at all. And yeah, I truly feel like if personal training failed, I'd probably move into some sort of social media content creation role because I love it so much.
Yeah. And it really shows that you're actually having fun, because sometimes if someone's a bit too serious in social media, it doesn't become social. You feel like you have a goal to sell or something. It's not, you're not really relatable.
Completely agree. Yeah. And also in the fitness world, I mean, you just look at most personal trainers' pages and they're all topless, showing abs, flexing in the mirror. And it's not my personality. You can probably tell from the way that I speak. It's just, I find that really awkward. And a lot of the content that a lot of personal trainers are creating, it's almost like they're advertising towards other personal trainers, you know? Like this content that they are creating is great for people who are regular exercisers, who do it all the time. But for the everyday person who is maybe a little bit intimidated in the gym, doesn't really know where to start with fitness or nutrition, I mean, a topless selfie showing your six pack is just not motivational at all. It just completely puts people off.
Yeah. So, I mean, like there's a saying in PT world, your body is your business card. But was there a moment when you were like posting out content and you weren't showing like six pack abs or like topless photos or reels? Was there ever a moment you thought like, oh, I don't think people are really going to follow me? But did you ever have those doubts?
Yeah, I think when I first started in the world of personal training, I did think, do I look like your average personal trainer? Like sounds really cheesy. Like I've got a little bit of muscle mass, not loads, but I've got a bit. Like this is kind of what personal trainers are supposed to look like in some form. And it's so easy just to fall into that trap of like, right, I'm going to post pictures of myself because this is what people will want to look like. And I hate that. Like I completely hate the comparison culture that the fitness industry promotes. So yeah, I kind of made a bit of a decision a few years ago just to not post any pictures of my body. Occasionally there'll be pictures of me like at the beach with my wife having a great time because that's life, but I'm not going out there just to take photos of the way I look because I don't want that to be the way that I promote my services. And it's a really bad way to do business, if I'm honest. It's a really hard sell. It is a really hard sell. I would make a lot more money or kind of faster money if I was kind of like the rest of the fitness industry, posting those before and after photos, 6-week challenges of lose X amount of weight in this time frame. It's really easy to sell like that, but it's really immoral, and I don't think it helps people in the long run.
Yeah, I think you probably know more about it, but like people in Instagram, like those fitness influencers, at the end of the day, it's a business, which is completely understandable, but it's leading to disordered eating patterns because they're posting their six pack, they're most shredded. They're probably like their most shredded for only like 2 or 3 days, get all the photos done. And then they're just recycling the content again and again and again.
It's really frustrating. It's like so many personal trainers will preach sustainability and health at the forefront of everything that they do, but their actions are speaking otherwise. You know, why are personal trainers following these horrendous dieting protocols to get these professional photos done where they are really lean, when those are not the habits that they're promoting that their clients should follow? I think it's really immoral, and I don't think the personal training industry should be going that way at all. And I like to call that out regularly on my page, and it makes people very angry. But I strongly believe that this should not be the way that the personal trainers are doing things. You're using disordered eating habits to promote healthy eating, and it's just wrong. It's completely wrong.
No, yeah. I mean, it's like fueling eating disorders. And there's these people say, oh, if you work hard enough, then you'll look like me and everything. It's all genetics. But do you mention in any of your reels, it might be a big topic to mention about like raising awareness that some people are heavily on HRT, hormone replacement therapy, SARMs, steroids, performance enhancing drugs, stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. It's something I like to talk about regularly. I know personally trainers that take steroids. You look at their pages, they're saying you can look like me if you buy this plan, and you're not going to look anything like that. Once again, it's just the smoke and mirrors of the fitness industry, right? And it's incredibly frustrating. I just wish more people knew how rife steroid abuse was within the fitness world. It's actually quite scary how many people take steroids and just will not talk about it. But I mean, that's what we're told we're supposed to look like, isn't it? You look at any Marvel superhero movie and all the main characters taking steroids. And you have to be careful of kind of naming individual people, but a lot of the kind of famous people that we look up to in the world of acting, they are taking steroids. They go from a role where they're acting as someone really skinny or underweight, and then suddenly the next movie they're absolutely jacked. And they're saying that that's natural. It's not.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly frustrating to see.
Yeah, I mean, I can easily count like three, 5 people from the top of my head. Have you heard of this guy on YouTube called Greg Doucette?
I recognize the name. I'm really bad with like fitness personalities.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I try and stay away from it just because I find it infuriates me, but also I don't find it motivating at all. So I tend to stay away from it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not a call out to him, but he's one of those bodybuilders who are calling people out. He does these Natty or Not series, and then he's calling many celebrities out, like just because. It's really hard not to name celebrities while I'm talking, but like it also damages mental health of the celebrities themselves. Like they're getting praise from these interviews for like, workout plans. What's your workout plan? What's your diet? Oh, chicken and broccoli and rice, and working out 2 hours a day for 6 days a week, which is already a big red flag that someone.
It's actually great though, because there's more and more celebrities are coming out now and being quite honest about it. I know that Hugh Jackman, for example, spoke about one of his Wolverine movie scenes, and he said that he was dieting for weeks for one scene in his film, where he's kind of at the end, it's like a big fight where he's got his top off. He's super lean. He said he didn't drink water for like a day or two leading up to it as well, so he was really dehydrated. And they are coming out and being quite honest about this. I think Zac Efron as well has been quite open and honest about how miserable he felt when he was looking at his quote unquote best, you know? And the more people that can be honest like that would be fantastic. But unfortunately in the fitness industry, you can make a lot of money from having a kind of good physique by fitness industry standards. So no one's going to talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, it's really, really crazy. Have you heard of the Liver King? I guess I called someone else.
No, right. He's kind of been found out. So yeah. I mean, I don't know how anyone looked at him and didn't think he was taking steroids. However, it's a clear example, isn't it? Like he would go on the offensive if anyone claimed that he was taking steroids when it's found out now that he was taking steroids. It's an embarrassment.
Yeah. It's pretty messed up, really. Yeah. And
sorry, I was just going to say that the eating disorders, on that eating disorder point as well, I think a lot of people get into fitness because they've got some sort of disordered eating background, or like the amount of times you hear a personal trainer say that they became a trainer because they were overweight as a kid and got picked on, and then this led to them to get into a fitness journey where they lost weight. A lot of trainers are starting their fitness journey or fitness careers from a place of extremely disordered behaviors. And then you've got these people coaching others on how best to eat and exercise. So you've just got this really vicious cycle of disorder. And the amount of times that I've called out practices that are the norm within the fitness industry, like before and after photos, like obsessively tracking calories for months on end, like all these different things that are just seen as the healthy way to approach things, they are not. They are incredibly disordered, but the fitness industry promotes it. So it's really tough to break from that cycle.
I know. I mean, like in my page, I'm about like trying to get away from, because if you struggle, for example, with binge eating, you're far, because eating disorders or disordered eating, relationship with our food, it's a spectrum. If you're struggling with binge eating disorder, you're far closer to the eating disorder spectrum. So I tell people like, you shouldn't try to weigh every single gram of food. You don't have to weigh your salad leaves. You don't even have to weigh your olive oil, because that is disordered. And although like people have different goals and everything, you have to think about where you are. You need to focus on what's your relationship with food right now, because at the end of the day, like weighing food is disordered, but it depends on where you are in the spectrum, because it might not be a big issue for someone. If they have a great relationship with food, like they can weigh, it's not going to affect their day. But if they have like an eating disorder, or they're closer to the other edge of the spectrum, weighing one food might cause them to like, like purge or like, oh, my day's ruined. It's really spectrum.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I always have to be careful in calling this out because I appreciate that there's very sensitive areas of the fitness industry.
Yeah,
So there's a big rise of kind of the intuitive eating movement, which is fantastic, has its place. But then once again, I feel like those sides of the fitness world can go too far in criticizing other aspects. Yeah, exactly. As you said, like that everyone is an individual and you need to figure out what works for you and where you are at in terms of your fitness journey or your relationship with food and exercise. The way that I eat and sometimes monitor my food intake would be incredibly disordered for someone who's maybe had an eating disorder in the past, right? Mm-hmm. Some of my clients I work with, they keep a food diary and they track calories, and that's fine. We use it as a tool to learn about food, and we transition away into kind of a more intuitive, in quotation marks, approach after that, And I think just having these blanket statements of tracking calories is disordered, that's it, don't ever do it. It's not helpful. It's really not helpful. Yeah. Just as much as it is on the other end of the scale saying everyone has to track their calories to see progress. It's just not true. And I think that's the problem once again with the fitness industry of people trying to market their services to so many people. They're just going to have a cookie cutter guide where they try and apply it to every single person, and it's never going to work. Like the way that you eat, the way that you exercise should be individual for you. And that's it. Like that's it. It's really difficult to sell that, but that's the way that it should be. There is no approach that you have to take or that you should take. It's just what feels best for you as a person. And it's, the sooner people find that out, the better.
Yeah. Amen to that. So like, going back to your journey from becoming an OT, occupational therapist, to a personal trainer, what initially got you into fitness?
Yeah, so as I said, like I did kickboxing for a while, and I've always enjoyed. I was a really bad fighter. I wasn't a bad fighter. I was a very average fighter. So a lot of tournaments I'd enter, I'd just come third. That was like my standard. It became a bit of a running joke. I got a trophy, so I was happy. But I was never going to be like a great fighter, Mm-hmm. I loved the fitness side of it. I loved kind of feeling strong and flexible and cardiovascularly fit. Like that's what really attracted me to it. Then I got into running a bit more, and then I found the gym, and I was like, oh, this is fun. Like I can lift weights and fill out a t-shirt a little bit better now, and I feel a bit more confident. And it just kind of became this really nice, just like a nice sensible journey towards it. I did go down a slightly disordered path with the strength training at the start. I've spoken about this a lot on social media, and I would say that I did become quite obsessive with lifting weights and obsessing about building muscle and looking a certain way. It was just been a natural progression from that. And then realizing after a while that, actually having these pictures of muscular men on my phone that I wanted to look like, who were clearly taking steroids. I didn't know that at the time. Like, this is not healthy, like striving to look like someone else. And the bigger I got, the less satisfied I was as well, which is the really funny thing. Like, you'll never be big enough. You'll never be fit enough. Like once I realized that, and I started to build a bit of a healthier relationship with exercise. Yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. And then I thought, as I said, like personal training could be quite a fun little thing to do for a while. And now I've worked with clients in about 20 different countries. I've worked with kind of higher performance athletes who are trying to get to kind of the Paralympic Games. I work with the everyday folk who have never done any exercise or know nothing about nutrition. And it's just the best job in the world. I love it.
That's amazing. And I'm so happy that you're really, really happy that you're like loving life, loving social media, loving your PT and everything else. And when people come to you, what's the main issue they want to be resolved, or something they go to you for frequently?
The kind of content I create now, I have a lot more people coming to me who have previous eating disorders or disordered eating in the past. Really? So yeah, I'd like to think it's because people feel kind of a bit more safe in me helping them towards their goals there. So that's definitely increasing the amount of people I've worked kind of in that bracket. But still, by far, is fat loss. Like, everyone gets in touch with a personal trainer because they think, like, fat loss, I need someone to shout at me and tell me what to restrict so that I can reach my goals and be happy. Like, sadly, that's what it is. So like, I know quite a few trainers who work in the similar space that I am, who don't work with people who want fat loss because they don't think that it should be a goal at all. I don't take that stance. I just like to make it I like to be really honest with the people I'm working with and say, if that's your goal, that's awesome, but that's not going to be the emphasis of what we do together. We're going to help you build a better relationship with exercise and build some consistency. I'm going to help you figure out what your diet looks like now, where we can improve it, and help you find balance in that long term. And then usually those goals that people want, they happen as a natural result. But yeah, it still unfortunately is just fat loss. I've got a wedding in 10 weeks. I've got my birthday's in a few months. I'm going on holiday. Like, this sadly is still the large bulk of people that get in touch. But I like to think that I'm kind of trying to shape them into a bit more of a kind of more balanced approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even with me, like people with binge eating disorder or like binge eating episodes, very frequent binge eating episodes, people think like I need to lose weight, and everything. But if you focus on like regular eating habits, increasing your protein intake, increasing your fruit and veg, increasing physical activity, sleep, just the basic healthy eating. There's no need to like biohack or anything.
It's so, do you know, I love keeping it so simple. My favorite thing is when I send a nutrition plan to someone and they're like, "Oh, is that it?" But yes, this is the basics. Like, nail this, and 99% of what you want to achieve will happen. Then you can start fine tuning, like the extra supplements we throw on top, or the timings of meals, or that kind of thing. Like, if you get the kind of the points that you will raise there right, like protein intake, hydration, sleep, like if you get those things right, everything else falls into place, and it's just, you watch the magic happen. Like, you just see people just build this freedom with food that they've never had before, and it's amazing.
And most people think like with disordered eating, probably they come to you. Maybe you've probably seen these cases that maybe they're skipping tons of meals, their sleep is out of whack, and they think it's because of like the fitness industry, really. Like, if you're skipping meals, trying to eat, like, I had a friend actually I lived with back in uni. She would eat like salad and vinegar, just nothing else, like just green leaves in vinegar, and then she would like eat pizza, and she would say like, "Oh, it's at the end of the day, pizza." And then she'd say like, "Oh, well, it's all about calories in, calories out." But like, her sleep was poor, and she wouldn't notice why her weight was going down, because evidence shows time and time again that if you're heavily restricting or probably heavily under eating, then your body's gonna, study shows that you eat like 300 or 500 calories more than someone who eats regular meals. It's a strange idea, eating regular meals that are filling, high protein, but it's what's been shown time and time again, especially for like people working out in the gym. It's just so simple: high protein, regular meals, sleep, stuff like that.
It's so true, isn't it? I think people overcomplicate it, but you can't blame them, can you? Like, the messaging that we receive from kind of diet culture, the fitness industry, whatever, like we're always told we have to do this weird, overcomplicated process to make any progress, when in fact we don't. We just have to strip it back to the basics and be consistent long term. It's really difficult to kind of hammer that home to someone who has had such disordered eating in the past. Even from like a muscle protein synthesis standpoint, it's like skipping meals is just not ideal. Like, it's just really not ideal. Like, if you want to improve your fitness, if you want to build strength, if you want to build muscle, like, you want nice regular meals. Keep yourself satisfied, keep yourself full, provide your muscles with the energy that it needs to repair itself properly. And that's usually the way that I go around trying to educate people to change it, but it's so difficult.
Yeah. And so do you come across people who have never stepped foot in a gym and they want to, like, let's say their goal is like fat loss, or maybe their goal is to just improve their muscle mass? Do you come across those kinds of people?
Yeah, and they're my favorite people to work with. Like, don't get me wrong, I still love working with people who have been going to the gym for 5, 6, 7, 8 years or whatever. But when you've got someone who's a complete newbie coming to you, I just love it. Like, I love the whole process of teaching them about kind of how to fuel your body correctly. Like, this is why you're feeling a bit tired at this time. If we just make this little change and add in this meal or change your macronutrient balance, like, that's the thing that I absolutely love. And just preaching the benefits of strength training. So I do triathlons, I do kind of Ironman events, but then I also focus on like strength training too. So I've gotten a really nice balance of both of them. And I love preaching the health benefits of strength training, especially when you have those people coming to you who are slightly older as well, because as we age, those benefits just get more and more, you know? So yeah, that I do get a lot of those people coming to me, and I wish that I could work with even more of them because it's my absolute favorite.
I mean, when I started going to the gym like many, many years ago, I wish I had like someone like you, because I just stepped foot in the gym. I just Googled some stuff, and then I don't know. It sounds very silly now, like looking back back at it. I'm trying not to laugh. But like after every workout, I would think to myself, I have this 1 hour magic window where I can eat anything and I would never gain any weight. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from.
So the anabolic window is still one of those myths that everyone spouts. You know, that was actually one of the very first videos I made for social media, was about the anabolic window. Yeah. So I'm trying to think what I did. So as I said, I live in Edinburgh. The city's like beautiful. So if you film outdoors, anywhere you film just looks spectacular. So the start of the video is me finishing a bicep curl, and then I set a stopwatch timer for 30 minutes. And there's just a video of me running across the city to make it back in time for my protein shake. And it's just amazing how that myth is still going, right? And it's, I don't know why it is. Like, it's been debunked many, many times. But yeah, I was exactly the same. Like, I always felt like, oh, if I don't have my protein shake after my workout, waste of time. The workout was a complete waste.
It's better not to go at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wasting my time.
Yeah. What are like three common fitness myths which you come across, which you'd like to debunk right now for people?
There's so many of them. It's great. So like detoxing is one that I talk about a lot, that people think that they need to detox their bodies, either to kind of support their detox pathways or to help themselves lose weight. And you don't need to do that. You have kidneys, you have a liver, like you don't need to detox. Okay. Unless there's some sort of like heavy metal poisoning, like go see a doctor in a hospital and they will help you, but don't follow a dodgy detox plan online. Like, that's one that I always like to hammer home, because there's still people making money off it. I'm looking at you, Gwyneth Paltrow from Goop.
Oh, we're calling people out now.
Yeah, she's been sued so many times. She must be used to it by now. Another one, like carbs make us fat. This other one, this belief that carbs or sugar are inherently going to make us put body fat on, and it's just not true. I even had someone the other day arguing in one of my posts that calorie balance doesn't matter. It's all about insulin from carbohydrates that makes people put on fat. And it's just like, these things are still going. So yes, you can eat bread. Yes, you can eat pasta, potatoes, rice, whatever. You'll be absolutely fine. In fact, you'll feel better for it because you'll have lots of energy. I mean, what other one should we do? We've debunked the anabolic window.
Choosing the best one.
Oh, another one, I guess, which I quite like, is just because of the way that I train as well. Like, I go from doing like marathons or Ironman events to trying to build muscle, and trying to marry the two is great. And people still feel like you can't do cardio and build muscle at the same time. So I was of this belief too. Like, I was scared to kind of walk long distances or go for a light kind of 10, 15-minute jog, because I thought I'm going to lose all my gains. It's not true. Cardiovascular exercise like running, walking, swimming, cycling will help you with your strength training goals. Of course, you need to be sensible with that. And if you're running marathons every day, then yes, you're probably going to struggle. But you can absolutely have a balance of doing cardiovascular exercise and building strength and muscle. In fact, that will just actually help you with the recovery process and speed up your progress with the strength training. So that's another one that I thought, that's three. There's a good three, I think.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the third point, like trying to avoid cardio at all. I used to think that also, because they say like, excessive aerobic exercise from bodybuilding.com. They said like is catabolic, and I would try to avoid any cardio, which I back then I was like, oh, that's even better because I don't like cardio. But it built up this mindset of like, oh, actually, I should do cardio now because your heart is the most important muscle. And what's the point of more muscle mass and you're carrying more weight around you if you couldn't like have the aerobic capacity to just like swim, walk, run?
Completely agree. And it's all about longevity, right? Like, I know that we all think we're going to stay young forever and we just need to focus on what our bodies look like right now. But I think there is always a really important point of like looking at an investment in long-term health. Like, that's what strength training is. Like, if you can build or sustain muscle mass, into older age, like you're winning. The health stats for that are unbelievable. You've got a much higher success rate of living longer if you do strength training. So anyone listening to this, do strength training. It's amazing.
By the way, just a quick break from the podcast to let you know of my free hunger regulation webinar series, which is in the link in the description of this podcast. There's also an ebook version if you're more of a reader than a watcher. This is the perfect resource I wish I had when I struggled with binge eating years ago, which is used to guide you from everything you need to know, from why we binge, what are the binge triggers, and the eating pattern to stop binge eating. Because when we've been struggling with binge eating for so long, you and your body lose touch of what normal hunger and normal fullness is. You're constantly on feast or famine mode. So head to the link in the description of this podcast for the free hunger regulation resources to have a clear game plan to tackle binge eating for good. Anyway, let's get straight back to the episode. Absolutely.
But then like cardiovascular health is so unbelievably important in kind of preventing so many illnesses and diseases. So it's all about like finding that healthy balance of enjoyment and practicality, and you can do that by doing both at the same time. Like at the moment, I usually do like 1 to 2 cardio things a week and then 3 to 4 strength training sessions. Occasionally that changes when life's busy. Like we've just had a baby 3 weeks ago, so my exercise is very inconsistent. But yeah, it's always a fun balancing act, and there's so much more flexibility that you probably think you can have there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going to the point of your baby, because some people we talked about this before the start of the podcast, but like for people who are listening, you just got a baby.
Yeah, we did. So Jude, my son, was born 3 weeks ago today, actually. And he's, I know everyone thinks their babies are cute, but he is incredibly cute. Sleep has not been great, if I'm honest. I have been sipping a coffee throughout this to keep me going. But it's a world I was really interested in getting into, obviously because we wanted to have a child, me and my wife, but also just I'm really looking forward to introducing him to food and kind of curating his relationship with food as well. And it really fascinates me, that aspect. So I'm looking forward to it once he starts weaning and this kind of thing. But yeah, trying to balance life and work and social life and sleep, and then trying to fit workouts in has been quite a challenge. So not that I didn't have respect for parents before doing this, but I have a newfound healthy respect for parents that exercise regularly because it's tough.
Oh, I mean, do you get like clients or people commenting who are parents who say, "Oh, I don't have enough time to fit in workouts. I have like 5 2-year-olds who are never asleep," stuff like that. How would you work around that? Like if someone wants to meet their fitness goals?
I mean, the usual fitness industry approach is you've got time, like this is just the line. You will shout at someone, tell them you've got time, make time. But I think we have to acknowledge that actually people don't have time a lot of the time, So it's all about working with what you've got. Like I've been squeezing in workouts because my wife is amazing. And she said, right, you go to a workout and I'll look after Jude for a few hours, like if you didn't have a supportive partner like that, it's really brutal. But then I think it's also important to point out that a lot of the time people think they don't have time to because of their perception of what counts as a successful workout. They think that for exercise to be beneficial, it has to be 50, 60 minutes, an hour and a half in the gym. And that's all that exercise should be. Whereas in fact, you can squeeze in, like if you've got 10 minutes, you can get an amazing workout in. Like within my fitness group, I do the 10-minute bodyweight workouts. And honestly, by the end of it, I am completely gassed. So I think once you show people, right, exercise doesn't have to look like 3 sets of 10 in the gym or running a 10K, it can be short burst bodyweight workouts. It can be going out and walking with your child. It can be dancing to music in the living room, exercise, beneficial exercise can take so many forms. And that's usually the way that I like to approach it when someone says they don't have time. But sometimes they might not have time, and that's fine as well.
So with your 10-minute bodyweight workout, what does that look like?
Bit of a mixture. So we've got a lot of varying abilities within the group that I have. So I do beginner, intermediate, and advanced ones. So let's go intermediate for now. So usually what I'll do is I'll maybe put 10 exercises back to back. and we'll do an exercise for 40 seconds, rest for 20 seconds. Next exercise for 40 seconds, rest for 20 seconds. And you can keep it really simple like that. So it might be squats for 40 seconds, rest for 20. Press ups for 40 seconds, rest for 20. Walking lunges for 40. Like it can just be super, super simple. Once again, I think people really overcomplicate that, and they'll find these fat burning workouts on YouTube and feel like you have to completely pummel yourself into the ground for it to be beneficial. And it doesn't, really simple, keep it straightforward. And that's brilliant exercise.
Yeah. You mentioned fat burning supplements. Let's go to the topic of supplement. Like, what supplements do you find are not okay? And some supplements that are evidence-based and have been shown to improve your health overall.
Of course. So one thing I'll say before I give the supplements that I really like is a website for everyone to check out. If you go to examine.com.
Yes, I know that, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic website. So if anyone listening to this is thinking, oh, what does this supplement do? Is it beneficial? Go to examine.com and type in the name of the supplement into the search bar. It will tell you whether it's worthwhile taking it or not. The website is brilliant. But yeah, I'd say like 99% of supplements on the market are trash and not worth your time. Like if I'm completely honest, unless you're incredibly wealthy and income is no issue to you and you might want to try something that gives you 0.01% difference, 99% of supplements are just not worth it at all. The ones that I tend to stick to, obviously this is going to vary a little bit depending on dietary preferences and intolerances, but like a protein supplement can be amazing, really cheap, efficient way of getting in protein. Creatine monohydrate, amazing for energy production when doing strength training. Vitamin D3, if you live in a climate where you don't get much sunshine, like Scotland, where I live.
The UK.
Anywhere in the UK, definitely go vitamin D, especially throughout the colder, darker months. Like things like zinc, calcium, depending on what your dietary preferences are like. Fish oil supplements, potentially, depending on, once again, what your diet's like. Other than that, like you can get everything else through your diet pretty easily. You should always be doing it through your diet first anyway, but if you just focus on those, like you can't go too wrong.
What about, do you come across people who come in saying, I'm taking these fat burner pills?
Yeah, I mean, they don't work. Like fat burning pills don't work. So the reason fat burner pills work, in quotation marks, again, is because they are rammed with so much caffeine that you end up moving more. Like that's what people are relying on. Yes, there are some ingredients in them that will increase your metabolic rate, but it's so insignificant that it's not going to make a difference. You'll probably end up dropping from a heart attack before you see any significant benefit from that if you're doing them long term, right? So don't do it. Like fat burning pills are just never worth it, ever. I wouldn't recommend anyone goes anywhere near them.
I guess it's just in the name already. It's just to supplement. It's like you said back earlier, like it revolves around the main focus points like higher protein, focus on your sleep, including like lots of fruit and veg, at least your 5 a day, stuff like that. Because I find some people, especially some friends, they say like, oh, I'm taking these raspberry ketones. And I ask them like, oh, how do you sleep? Oh, only got 1 hour sleep last night. Everything. So yeah.
People buy supplements a lot of the time because it makes them feel like they're doing something beneficial rather than focusing on the bits that maybe require a little bit more attention, if we're being completely honest. But as you said, like the clue's in the name, isn't it? Like your supplement stack is there to supplement a healthy diet. So it's unfortunately too many personal trainers will have discount codes and ways that they can make money from selling products. So that's why supplements get pushed before healthy dietary changes or lifestyle changes. So it's usually a pretty good sign of whether a coach is worth the money or not. Like if straight off the bat, someone is recommending you take supplements without really knowing that much about you, find another coach because they're really not worth it.
Yeah, definitely. So like with supplements, let's go to the big supplements. So really strange question, but do you come across people who are on steroids or like performance enhancing drugs from your niche?
So I have been approached by people who are taking them, but I don't like working with them as clients, if I'm completely honest. I know a lot of trainers will happily work with clients with that, but it's not something that I want to get involved with. Also, I don't know enough about them, if I'm completely honest. Like, I know the overall dangers of taking them, but I wouldn't feel confident in giving someone specific advice without knowing everything about the product that they're taking, and it's just not for me. I don't know. I very rarely get approached by people that are taking them because I think just from the content that I create on social media, they know that it's not really my bag.
Yeah. You really stand out from all the
yeah,
fitness.
they're gonna go find that gym bro who's a lot bigger than I am to probably ask him for advice because he's probably going the same route, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and anyway, there's nothing wrong with taking like performance enhancing drugs as long as you know the risks and the benefits of it, and as long as what is wrong is if you go in uninformed, probably you have only been in the gym for like 1 week and then you jump onto something, and
that happens though. That happens. Like, I've been every time I do Q&As, there's usually a question from someone about steroid use. I usually don't answer it on my page just because it's not really my specialty and I don't want to give out wrong advice to the people that follow me. But the amount of times I've had people comment saying that I started with a new trainer and he straight away put me on this supplement. Do you know what it is? But the trainer, yeah. So they're recommending these supplements which are steroids to their clients without their clients being informed, and it's criminal. So yeah, that's why, once again, like, if someone's recommending you take something off the bat, do not trust them.
Yeah, because like even with steroids, it completely turns off your body's reliance on producing testosterone. So the moment you're off, your testosterone levels are like lower than someone probably like 10 years younger than you or something. And then you have to be on like replacement therapy for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. The pressures from social media and society for us all to look a certain way are huge. So I can completely respect why some people end up going down that route, but just try play the long game. You know, the amount of people that I have spoken to that have damaged their health long term to look a certain way for a few months, like, it's just not worth it. It's just really not worth it.
Yeah. And like when you actually look at the stats, well, you don't have to look at the stats. If you just like look at some YouTubers, like some people who have taken fitness in terms of their looks to the extreme, they've only lived up to like maybe 40 years old or like 50 at max. Like their mortality is very, very low compared to someone who actually goes to the gym or just does marathons or stuff like that. Physical activity for health, really. If you look at, I can't remember how old Arnold Schwarzenegger is. I know he took steroids in the past, but now he's more focused on health.
I mean, he is, but he's also had many heart operations.
Oh, has he? Oh.
Yeah, he's had a lot of heart operations, and I think I have a few suspicions about why they happened. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't realize he had heart operations.
Yeah, multiple ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Anyway, on another note, like if you focus on health, you'll, like you said, that's the best thing that could improve your life. And I can't remember where I saw it, that the world record holder for the biggest squat, the strongest squat, I know he's probably on surely on performance enhancing drugs, but in terms of his bone density, he has the strongest bones in the world just from squatting. And like going back to what you mentioned a while back with like disordered eating or eating disorders, even if like someone struggled with anorexia, I was listening to this podcast by the Huberman Labs. We're talking about like people transforming their relationship with food from aerobic, where you're just like, oh, I've eaten a cookie, I need to like run for like 10 miles, to, okay, I'm going to fuel myself and then just have a fun strength-based resistance workout. Like you're reversing these issues with your bones in terms of anorexia. You're building up your bones, building up your muscles. If you have this mindset of like building up rather than losing or breaking down, and I know if you want to like lose fat, you can do that, but it shouldn't come from a place of guilt or like I hate myself, stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. It's all about the intent, isn't it? Like, why are you doing this? And once again, play that long game. If you can, rather than focusing on what you can cut out from your diet, what you shouldn't be doing, like always think about, right, what can I add into my diet to improve things? What can I add into my daily routine that is going to provide me with benefit in the long term for my health? And as soon as you start approaching it like that, it all becomes really positive changes rather than restriction. What can I do? And it's just such a healthier way to approach it.
I mean, that's a really, really good way to just sum everything up. So, Michael, before we end the podcast, if there are like people listening to the podcast at the moment and they've never stepped foot in the gym, what 5 tips, whether it's advice or like gym-based tips, would you give to people who are listening?
Blimey, 5, that's a lot. Right, okay. So the first of all is I would say don't overcomplicate it. Things can be kept incredibly simple. What's going to be the most successful thing for you? Is it going to be kind of this perfect plan that you go to the gym 6 days a week off the bat? Or is it going to be something that's maybe a little bit imperfect, but works around your lifestyle? You know, like that is going to give you better results in the long run. So keep it simple. That's perfect. Find a support network is also really important. That doesn't necessarily mean spend loads of money on a personal trainer. It could be joining a class for some consistency, finding a friend that wants to exercise regularly with you, just someone to kind of give you a little bit of a nudge on those days you don't want to do it and provide a supportive hand as well when that's required too. For the gym, go in with a plan. The reason I think that a lot of people don't find consistency with the gym is because they turn up and go, right, what shall I do today? So you kind of awkwardly walk around the gym, float between exercises or machines, and nothing really happens. If you go in there with a solid plan of, right, every time I go in, I'm going to follow this and I'm going to try and increase the weight over time, do a few more repetitions over time, you'll find so much more consistency and it'll be way more fun. Because looking back in 4 or 5 weeks' time that you've gone from squatting a 10 kilo bar to a 25 kilo bar, there's no better feeling. It's the best feeling in the world. Blimey, right, that's 3. Most people in the gym are incredibly supportive, right? We look at these gyms. I know that a lot of gym advertising are kind of really fit looking, lean individuals, big muscles, slim white folk. That's all we ever see on gym advertising, right? Gyms are not like that. Like most of the people in the gym do not look like that. Everyday people do not look like that. And the people in the gym are way more supportive than you think they're going to be. Everyone goes in the gym feeling self-conscious. Everyone's looking at me. They're judging me on the squat rack. Am I doing this correctly? Most people don't know what they're doing and they want you to succeed. And if you try and go into the gym with that mindset, it's a game changer. Okay? Oh, wow. Last one. Don't be afraid to have a day off. It's probably the best final one. So a lot of the time people will have this plan and they will beat themselves up if they don't stick to it perfectly. Doesn't matter. If you feel like crap, have a day off. If things aren't really ticking, have a day off and go back again the next day. Like if you give yourself permission to quit and be flexible, it will last much longer than if you wanted everything to be perfect to beat yourself up for it. 5 tips. There we go.
That was really good. It's like a fire round of like 5 tips.
There we go. Snappy.
Yeah. Well, Michael, if people want to work with you, where can they find you?
Cool. So most of my work or my content and stuff I post through Instagram. So my Instagram handle is, my surname's quite a bizarre one to spell. So maybe look at it in the show notes of how to spell it. But it's Michael Ujoa PT. So it's just Michael Ujoa PT. And that's on Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. But I'm not really too into TikTok yet, but that will be changing. And then my website is just michaelujoa.com if you want to get in touch for online personal training queries. I do run a group as well, as I said, called Nourish, Move and Maintain. And that's kind of like a diet culture free fitness community, really kind of low cost entry point just for some kind of general plans and nutrition advice to follow. So that's just Nourish, Move and Maintain. And you can find that if you just Google it or click on the link in my Instagram bio. And that's pretty much it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be linking all of Michael's links in the description of this podcast. Well, Michael, there's this little tradition I do in my podcast with guests is that the previous guest would ask you a question and then you'd ask a question to the next guest. So the previous guest, Meredith, her question is for you, is how do you manage your stress levels?
Oh, that's good. I mean, I'm first of all, I'm going to be really cheesy and obvious and say exercise, because that truly is the thing that relaxes me. I love running. Running is kind of the thing that really helps my brain switch off. So that's usually what I do. Other than that, music. I played guitar for years. I love music. I'm pretty much listening to music all day, every day, and I find that really helps to keep my stress levels managed. So yeah, kind of a mixture of exercise and music, and that's me.
That's awesome. What's your go-to gym tune?
So I don't really have one tune to listen to, but I like, despite my kind of smiling, friendly personality, I like really like angry music when I'm working out. So I like either hip hop or something kind of quite heavy rock where someone is very angry and shouting at me, and that works for strength training. That's usually what I listen to. But if I'm doing runs, then it's something a bit more chill. Kind of just like lo-fi beats or really chilled hip hop. That's what I go for.
I mean, like when I'm in the gym, I listen to some like intense music. Also, I listen to some Slipknot, like Disturbed every now and then.
You're the same. Yeah, I think so. Today I've got lined up. I was going to listen to System of a Down's Toxicity album. So that's going to be my go-to. Yeah.
My last gym session, for my main set, I could easily remember I was listening to Aerials.
Yeah,
great song. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, Michael, if there's one more question, what is the next question you give for the next guest?
Oh, okay. let me have a little think. Do you mind if I just ask as well, Meredith, who was Meredith? What was her kind of job role? Or?
So she's an eating disorder therapist who actually had a lived experience struggling with anorexia for like 30 years. Cool. And now she's like a therapist who's supporting and helping people with anorexia.
Brilliant. She sounds great. I will go check out the episode after this. Is that episode up live now?
Oh yeah, it is.
Okay, have a listen. Thank you. Cool. Right. What tips will I get? Do you know what? I'm just going to go really, really simple. What is your, if you had to eat one meal every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Really?
Yeah, there we go.
It sounds like a death row question.
Yeah, a little bit, but I tried not to mention death. So it feels a bit friendlier.
Well, am I allowed to ask quickly what your meal would be?
Do you know, I think either spaghetti bolognese. I love a spaghetti bolognese.
That's good.
Or I'd go for kind of a good like British roast dinner.
Oh, yeah.
You can't beat it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Well, thanks, Michael. Thanks for coming along for this podcast. And once again, for people who are listening, just head to the link in the description of this podcast for Michael's links and to his groups and his website. Yeah. So thanks, Michael, for coming along.
Love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Struggling with binge eating? Gain access to my exclusive self-paced binge eating freedom course found in the link in the description of this podcast. My course is everything I wish I knew when I struggled with binge eating, but it's all wrapped up into one easy to understand platform. You'll finally learn how to put an end to binge eating and put an end to food dictating everything you do, controlling your life. Access it now in the link in the description of this podcast.